This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and for the first time this year I'm joined by Jamie Moore up here at the VIP gym in Manchester. Jamie, Happy New Year, how are you?
I'm alright, thanks mate, you?
I was a lot better up until maybe an hour and a half ago, but yes, that is another story for everyone else.
Always tie your pants when you come in here, mate. Schoolboy out of that.
I think the biggest error was the fact that I decided to wear tracksuit bottoms instead of jeans today, but unfortunately, so is life. We'll move on and let's get into the boxing talk. Jamie, last night, finally, Karl Frampton had his fight date announced with Jamal Herring, February 27th. How much of a relief was it for you yourself to have that date announced before Karl, knowing that you guys can start to kind of taper your work around an actual camp now?
Yeah, of course, obviously, fight's been sort of in the pipeline for months and months now. We've had a few different dates for it, and so we've sort of been stopping and starting training wise. But luckily, Karl's he's kept himself in great shape, and he's actually in front of where he needs to be for a fight on that date. So we've got to make sure we manage the training right. You know, we want to make sure he peaks properly. But yeah, I'm just relieved really that we've got the date.
Karl's been taking over for the past couple of months, being in and out of the gym, as a few people have said to me and as I've seen myself. Now that you've got this date to work towards, how has he been looking before the actual announcement?
Well, like I say, he's in front of where he needs to be. He's been sparring, he's been really sharp in sparring. Everything, all the tactics, what we've got in place, he's following through really well. So like I say, it's more about managing the training now and making sure, really, that we hold him back properly and make sure that he doesn't go too far in front of himself, because, you know, from where I'm sat now, he's probably 3 or 4 weeks away from, you know, I could get him ready and peak him in about 3 or 4 weeks. So I think I've got to hold him back for the next couple of weeks, and then we can let him off the leash.
How are you expecting the fight to effectively play out, Jamie? When you look at the advantages that Jamal holds with regards to his size, and you'd imagine come fight night he will be the bigger man in the ring, how are you guys looking to effectively work around that?
Yeah, I mean, size advantage, especially weight advantage, is only really effective if you use it in the right sort of way. I don't feel like the whole fight will rely on stuff like that. I think Jamal will impose it a little bit in patches, but I think, you know, I think it's a good fight for Karl style wise. I think Jamal's style suits him. He's not your typical out and out sort of outright southpaw. He's not your upright sort of fencing type of southpaw. He doesn't create those sort of problems what that type of southpaw does. You know, it's a Philly fighter, so he's tidy on the inside. He can fight in the pocket, but that in itself presents opportunities for us. So yeah, I feel like even though he's a southpaw, he's structurally the bigger guy. I feel like he suits Karl.
Did an interview with Tommy Coyle a few days ago, and Tommy said he can see Karl potentially stopping Jamal late on into the fight. Is that something you guys think is not just a possibility, could happen, or is it maybe a favourable outcome?
I feel like he can, definitely. You know, obviously super featherweight, a weight up, you know, do you carry your power through the weights? But, you know, Karl punches hard enough to get anyone's respect. You know, Jamal didn't look great in his last fight, but I'm not by any stretch of the imagination thinking that Herring is going to turn up, because why would he when he's in with a far better fighter? You know, you could say the same about Karl. Karl was boxing at a lower level last time, and fighters do tend to drop to the level of the opponent sometimes. So I feel like Karl will win the fight. He can win it in a few different ways. He could win early, he could win late, he could outwork him, he could outbox him even. You know, there's a few different ways to go about this fight, and Karl's an adaptable fighter, so I feel like during the fight, regardless of what Jamal tries to do, Karl will be able to adapt to it.
Moving away from Karl and on to Stephen Ward. He fights this coming weekend versus the Mountain Hafthor Bjornsson. Jamie, just what was your initial reaction to hearing about that fight, and what are you actually expecting to see from it?
Well, obviously it was it's an exhibition, so it's not going to go down on his record, and obviously the size is an issue. But I can't see Stephen having any problems with him. From a boxing point of view, I know he's a big guy, but Stephen's vastly experienced amateur and a professional, and I just see it as a bit of fun, really. I don't think it's taking anything too serious, but by the sound of it, this big Thor guy's not taking it too lightly. So Stephen better be on his guard, but I'm sure Stephen will be all right. He'll look after himself.
Now, I just want to touch on a couple of guys in the gym. Mark Leach being one of those. He had a brilliant win at the end of last year. A lot of excitement about him on the back of that victory over Kez Ashfaq. What do you see as kind of his route and his success story continuing this year?
I think because of the situation, it's tough, especially enforcing mandatories and putting people into title fights. So we did expect that maybe he was going to be made mandatory for the British super bantamweight title. He'd already won an eliminator at bantamweight and a Commonwealth eliminator, and that was a British eliminator itself. So, but I don't think they're looking at enforcing mandatories because promoters just can't do it at the moment with no shows going on, especially the smaller shows and stuff. But I'm just hoping Eddie can sort of do something with Mark, because he's such a talented kid. He's not a massive ticket seller, so that doesn't go for him. But under these circumstances, that doesn't matter. So I'm the last person from Salford to win a British title. So I just love Mark to be given that opportunity to be able to do it. I'm sure if he is given the opportunity, he'll be able to pull it off.
Kez Ashfaq, sorry, not Kez Ashfaq, I was like Akib Fiaz. Akib Fiaz not here today. First time I think I've been into the gym that he hasn't been here. What is the plan with him this year?
Well, Akib's basically lived in this gym for 2 years. You'll never meet a more dedicated fighter. You'll meet fighters who are as dedicated as him, but you'll never meet a more dedicated fighter. I've sent him out to Dubai with Stephen Ward. So Assam, Akib's brother, he helps train Akib, and he helps us out here in the gym as well. When Nige isn't here, when Nige is doing his other jobs, where he's a fireman or he's a actor, or the number one amateur coach in the country. So when he's not available, then Assam helps out here. So because we was busy here, and we sort of had an idea about Karl's fight coming up and I couldn't be away, I asked Assam and Akib to go over there. So they've never been to Dubai, so great experience for all three of them. So I'm just glad that they've, circumstances have come around and it's given them the opportunity to get over there.
Also, Jamie, just a couple of things away from the gym I just want to talk about. Firstly, being the lightweight division, a lot of excitement building on the back of Ryan Garcia's victory over Luke Campbell. For you yourself, who would you like to see next? There seems to be Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis kind of hype building, but a lot of expectation. Garcia will face Devin Haney. Yeah,
I like both fights. Haney and Garcia have got a bit of history from the amateurs, which adds a little bit to it, but I think the bigger fight at the moment is Tank. But I don't know whether I'd like to see that fight straight away for Garcia. I think Haney's not an easier fight. That's the wrong word to say. I think it's probably more sellable at the moment, and it's probably at a little bit of a lesser level as in terms of a step up for Garcia. I think it's a winnable fight for him. Haney's a very good fighter himself, but for me, I think Garcia's skill set's underrated, and I also think that there was a question whether he'd carry his power up to that sort of level, and we know Luke Campbell is a world class fighter, so that certainly ticked those boxes, and I was surprised how I spoke about this before in the gym with people saying, Luke Campbell's unbelievable. Talented fighter in terms of his skill set, but he's always got a big height and reach advantage. And what was he going to be like against someone like Garcia, especially someone who can punch like him, and when he hasn't got those advantages? And I was surprised how Garcia just walked him down. He sort of simplified it and just cupped his hands, walked him down, and because of his power, he's able to do that. So it'll be interesting to see whether he'll be able to do that against someone like Haney. So I think any of those fights I'd love to see, but I think he's mandatory, fulfill it.
And then the final one I want to touch on, Jamie, he's somebody you'll know from when you was fighting Amir Khan. Amir Khan said that he'd look to face Karl-Brook this year, finally settle that feud. If that one was to happen, are you still interested? And if so, what do you think would happen?
Mate, I think we've missed the boat with that one. I think we missed the boat a long time ago, to be honest. Listen, I'll still watch it. I think it's still a little bit intriguing in terms of who will win, and there's obviously a history there, but I think, what was it, 8 years ago maybe it should have happened, and I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago people was going, oh, we've missed the boat with that one. So I don't like fights to happen like that. I think, it's 2 world-class fighters who are past the best, and we seem, we always use it as an example, Mayweather Pacquiao. That was sort of 3 or 4 years too late, and it just wasn't the same sort of fight. The hype and the anticipation to it. So I don't. If the guy's going to do it, then best of luck to him. And I think, if they can earn the last few quid and people are interested in the fight, then great. If someone's got the opportunity to earn some money, especially during these tough times, then go. I wish you all the luck in the world. But I wouldn't be too interested in that fight at the moment, to be honest.
All right, Jamie, we'll leave it there now because I know you've got to get Karl back and to enjoy the rest of your guys' days and get your plans going for February 27th. I appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
No worries, Andi.